Tony comes to us from, he lives here in Lexington, but has spent, well over 30 years in the occupational therapy world, primarily in the Cynthiana home health region, and then came to PACE earlier this year and is now heading up this home modification grant program. So super excited to have him and all of his experience with this program, and certainly a service that will benefit many individuals here in Fayette County. This is a collaborative partnership with the City of Lexington, who received this HUD grant to provide some modifications to individuals' homes who are low-income seniors here in Fayette County. So I will turn it over to Tony to tell us more.
Well, thank you all for sacrificing some of your lunch to be here. I appreciate you taking time to learn about this program. I'll try to make it information that you can take in and use, and hopefully benefit some of the people that you're serving, not just through the BCN organization, but also in your friend and family group. So to start out, so that the information can I can give you a better frame of reference to take in the information. I want you to picture someone in your group, it can be a client, it can be a patient, it can be someone in your family, someone in your church, but I want you to picture someone who has mobility deficits, an elderly person that has mobility deficits. They can be semi-independent, independent, or they can need a lot of help, but get them in your mind and then picture them being either driving into their driveway or someone driving them into their driveway, and just kind of hold that in your head so that we can hang some of the information that you're going to get today on that. The program that I am leading right now is the Older Americans Home Modification Program. And it is a HUD program. It was a grant that Lexington Fayette Urban County government got, and then chose to partner with Bluegrass Care Navigators to execute the grant. The program kind of comes out of two main ideas. The first one is, as we grow older, we change. Our needs change. The need for support changes. So the person you're picturing in your mind, even if they're doing pretty good today, this might be the best day. It's January 15th, so some of us are still plowing away on our New Year's resolutions, and maybe we're getting better. But the odds are, as you age, you're going to lose certain abilities, and the program recognizes that they may need adaptations to still be independent, still be fully functional, but with some help. The second tenet of the program was, if you're going to make an intervention, it needs to be specific to the individual. So having okay, we're going to have a one-size-fits-all, we're going to go out and give everybody reachers, or we're going to go out and get everybody toilet seats that are raised. HUD did not want that approach with this program. They wanted it to be specific to the people who were receiving the grant. So those were the two kind of impetus that made them word the grant and structure the grant the way it's structured. The goal of the program is to ensure and help and enable low-income elderly people to remain safe in their homes through low-cost, low-barrier, and I'll explain all these terms later, but low-cost, low-barrier, high-impact home modifications or equipment that meet the person's personal goals and help them remain independent and safe in their home. So that's what we're trying to do for that person that's sitting in the driveway. We're trying to make sure that when they go into that house, they're going to be safe and they're going to be as independent as they can possibly be. The goals of the grant, like I said, are low cost, low barrier, high impact. So low cost meaning we're not going in and doing a complete home remodel. Okay? This program has a limit, a cap on what we can actually spend. But we go in and identify I, as an occupational therapist, go in and try to identify all the different ways that this person could be helped by either equipment or modifications. We may not get all of them done, but low cost, low barrier means things that can be done without big structural changes to the home and without people having to learn a whole new set of skills. Okay, so that's part of individualizing home modification, and part of what you're going to do for that person sitting in their car in the driveway is you're not going to overshoot your target. Okay, we're not going to put in something that looked like it came from Whoville that they have to learn 15 steps to be able to operate. We're going to put in something that is as close to plug and play as we can do, and we're also going to put in things because we're working with a population that is lower income, and I'll define that later. We're going to put in things that they can take with them. Okay, this doesn't, as much as possible, we would like to make an impact for the rest of this person's life. And if we're going to do that, we need to make sure that we keep in mind that a lot of people don't stay in the same spot. They move from place to place. So having them have equipment that can go with them where they can maintain their independence is really important. The program lasts for 3 years. Okay, so we started, it is going to be up in May of 2028, and I am not advancing my slides. So, and I will stop here and say, I tend to get excited about this because I really do believe in it, and once I start, I will kind of keep talking. But if you're online or if you're in this room and you have a question, Heidi is monitoring the chat, so ask the question right then. If you want to interrupt me, hold up your hand, throw something, whatever you want to do. But I want to address whatever questions that you have. So the goal, it's going to be a 3-year program. It ends in May of 2028. The goal is to serve 200 households. Okay, that is our target. Okay, and we began accepting referrals November 1st of last year. Okay, we've gotten 12 so far. We've had some people withdraw. We've had some people, we've got a lot of people right now gathering records because the application process is complex, or not complex, that's the wrong way to put it. It's just items that you need to get. And some people, like myself, like if somebody asked me for my Social Security card, that might take a while to find, and if I don't have it, boy, it takes a long time to get a copy of it. So we will run for 3 years, and at the end of that 3 years, hopefully, we will have served 200 households and provided that kind of home modifications that they will have and use for decades. So the participants. So here's what you have to think about for that person that you have in your head that's sitting in the driveway in the car. They have to be 62 years of age or older. They have to live in Lexington or Fayette County. And they have to be 80%, their income has to be 80% or below of the area median income. So that's the whole household. That's not just them. That is everyone who stays in that household. When I gather records, when I'm there, I will gather records on everyone that lives in that home. The limit for one person, like if the person you're thinking about lives alone, it's $57,350. If they make below that, they're good to go. For every other person that lives in the household up to 4, you add $8,200, and after that, $6,600. Don't want you to have to remember that. Just want you to kind of have a ballpark, figure. So we covered the income and the age and the location. They meet those 3 criteria, then they can get into the program. It doesn't matter what insurance they have. It does not matter what they qualify for. If they have those 3 things, they are able to continue the application process. The one caveat that I want you guys to let us kind of help figure out is you can't be receiving housing assistance from a project-based housing situation. So what that means is, like, if you live in a facility or a building and the whole building receives HUD money, then HUD's responsible for the modifications, not the Home Modification Program. So that's called that is called project-based assistance. And then there's tenant-based assistance. And tenant-based assistance is it's directly Sherry Lynn's benefit, and she gets it. If she moves from her house to another house, it goes with her. And that gets tricky because there are there are buildings that have some tenant-based and some not tenant-based. So let us figure that out. The city is very good at that. I can send them the address and all of that, and they'll know in a heartbeat. So I don't want you to have to think about that much, but you do probably need to know that that's out there. So the modifications that we're going to do, I kind of explained that in the beginning, that it's going to be low cost, low barrier, high impact. How do we make that decision? So when you're thinking about the person that you have in your head, what would be the first step to identify, what would be the barriers that you would address? How would you do that? Sherry Lynn, what would you do? If you had somebody that needed it, do you have any idea how you would get started? Yeah, put her on the spot.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Anybody have an idea about how they would get started?
I think you would assess their mobility.
Assess their mobility. Very good. Daryl?
Oh, same thing, go in their home,
Assess
their areas. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, and that's perfect. You want to assess their mobility. How? How would you do that?
Fall risk.
Fall risk assessment. Very good. That's one way of doing it.
Are they in a wheelchair? Do they ambulate on their own?
Yeah. Do they need an assisted class? Very good, because that's going to change what you're looking at. Do they walk to the door and then walk in and sit down in a wheelchair? And do they use the wheelchair because their back hurts them so bad if they stand up more than 3 minutes that they're not functional for the rest of the day? So that's what we call individually based. Now, I will tell you that the best way, bar none, is to watch someone do something. I, as an occupational therapist, know that if you're between 60 and 70 years old, you should be able to sit down and stand up from a chair in 11.4 seconds, 5 times. If you're 70 to 80, you should be able to do that same activity, sit to stand 5 times, 12.6 seconds. So I've done that test for 36 years. I know those things. I know what the timed up and go is. However, I've also had people who were really good at doing the sit to stand, and then they go in and their bathroom is so full of stuff that they would have to be able to do the NFL tire dance to get through there and do it the right way. Or the lighting is so poor that even though they have good skills, they don't see well enough in that bathroom to execute the sit to stand from the toilet or get in and out of the tub with any type of safety at all. So that's individual assessment. That is why the grant specifies that you have to have an occupational therapist involved in the home assessment. So the grant, HUD, said, we want this specifically individualized, and we want it individualized to a level that someone who does activities of daily living assessment and physical assessment goes into the patient's home and does the evaluation. So that's where I go in and I test the patient, I test their grip strength, because if you have weak grip, I may not put a vertical grab bar, I may put a horizontal grab bar, because it doesn't rely on your grip, it relies on your ability to bear weight through your arm. But those are kind of the things that I look at. And when you're thinking about the person that's in the car, in the driveway, that's kind of where you start to get very specific to them, right? You're looking at their individual skills. Oh, wait a minute, how good is her grip? How good is her balance, or his balance? And how do they get their walker up those steps? And those are things that when we picture people, we picture them inside the home, not outside. So what we can do in this program, grab bars, handrails, motion activated lighting, tap and go door springs, where When you walk up to the door and you open the screen door and you're trying to get your walker through, it's not going whack, whack, whack while you're trying to get through the door. You open it, the door stays open, you go through the door, you reach out, tap the door, and it closes automatically. Just that alone can make getting in and out of your house much easier. And then if you picture that you're carrying groceries and you have a walker, it's an incredible kind of feat to keep the door open, get the walker through, and carry the groceries without dropping. So you can, we do ramps, which is a big thing. We do not do in-ground ramps, we do modular ramps. We do modular ramps because they can go with them. Those ramps can be taken from one spot to another. But we don't do suitcase ramps yet. I haven't done any of those. And a suitcase ramp, if you're not familiar, is one that folds and you take it with you, which sounds wonderful, except for they're extraordinarily heavy. And typically I'm dealing with an older couple, and typically it's the woman taking care of the man, and it's just very hard for them to get for an elderly person to grab that ramp, take it to the car, or move it from one place to another. So we're doing modular aluminum ramps. I'm sure you guys have seen them, but that is a big ask for a lot of the people that come to this program. Again, when we go in, we may identify quite a few different projects that are covered in the scope of work for the OA HMP, Older Adult Home Modification Program. When you work with the city, they use like an acronym. It's really cool. You have to be cool to and use their acronyms or their abbreviations. But in this program, we may identify a lot of things. When we go in, I try as much as possible to at least verbally address everything. Then we prioritize what are the things that are going to make this participant the safest, and that they can have it move with them if they move. Handheld showers, toilet risers with handles, non-skid flooring. Those are all things that they're very common for us to use. Motion activated lighting has been a big plus for our clients, because their sense of body and space, their ability to adjust to changes in light is not good. As you get older, those sensory organs just don't function the same way. The lens in your eye, the muscles that cause it to change focus, that all gets harder to do and takes longer. So we put motion activated lighting in hallways and in bathrooms, where as soon as the person gets up, their way is lighted. And that way I don't have to rely on compliance with it. I don't have to rely on them getting the walker and getting to the light switch to turn the light on, because that usually involves walking somewhere. As soon as they get up, their pathway starts to be lit, and they can get to the bathroom and back safely. And the research would indicate that most of the falls are going to occur surrounding the bathroom or the bedroom, and most of the time it is in the night. So if we eliminate just that one thing, we would be doing a great service to the whole industry, because the amount of money that you would save is astronomical. So that's those are the modifications that we'll do. The process. So the process for referring is you just call us. Okay, if the person you're thinking about, if you're thinking, yeah, you know what, they may be able to use this program, and yeah, I think it would be a good thing. You do not have to call the doctor. You do not have to check with their insurance. All you have to do is call our number. And I have rack cards back on the back table that you can take with you to give out. And if you're listening virtually, the information is on our website, and you can also contact me. If you have questions or you run across somebody, please do not hesitate to contact me. Because in this company, we do like to make a difference in if they touch us, we want them to go away, having been served in some way. Even if they don't qualify for what we're doing, we want them to leave here better off than what they have. So if we can do that, if me just talking to them does that, that's what needs to happen. But if you want to make a referral, just call me. Once you do that, what will happen is I will call whoever the number that you're giving me. Sometimes it's a caretaker, sometimes it's the patient or client themselves. I'll call them, I'll make an appointment to go out and see them, and we'll just discuss things. And the beginning of the discussion is always, okay, where are you having problems? What's going on? What made you want to call? And that's where we start. We have to start with their need, where they're seeing the need. Oftentimes watching them perform the task, they say, I just can't get in and out of the shower. Every time I try to get in and out of the shower, I'm just worried about falling. Or if they say, you know what, I got stuck on the toilet the other night, I had to call my husband to come in there and get me, it's terrible. That's where we'll start. Watching them do that, I can then extrapolate, okay, you're having trouble getting up and down off of this toilet, and we can fix that. That's fine, but where do you sit when you're not in here? Do you sit on the couch? Let's go look at the couch and see if we need to put furniture risers underneath it or a handle. And those are things people get used to. They get used to it, and they really don't look for a solution. They just accept it. When the solution for a low couch is a $6 Walmart furniture riser that anybody could purchase. But they just don't think about it because they accept that this is the way it's got to be. And we can change that. It does not have to be that way. It just doesn't. So I'll go out, we'll talk. We'll talk about what you called me for, and then I will introduce the process of getting the application completed for the city. They have to gather documents, and we have a list. We have like a start of care packet that you would have in any other program. It lists what documents are needed, and it has the documents the city wants them to sign. We get all that done. When they've got all the documents gathered, I come back, we enter that into the city's application. They get approved, and then I come out and we do the assessment. During the assessment, I'll test your strength, I'll test your balance, and then I'll watch you in every room. Say, okay, let's go in. What are you doing here? Is this your sewing room? Is this your bedroom? Show me what you're doing here. And we will go through the daily activities that they do in those different rooms. And room by room, we'll identify what are the security risks here, what are the impediments to, you're pretty strong, but you're having trouble with this one thing. Can we change the width of the door, the height of the seat? Can we get you some type of adaptive equipment where you don't have to reach down? We'll look at each thing and just go through it kind of room by room. Once that's done, I turn that into the city, and they turn it into a work order. The work order, the city has vetted, bonded, and insured contractors that will bid on what I'm going to ask them to do for the person that you guys are thinking of. And that process, they have a certain period of time that they will have the bids out. Then once they're done, that contractor will meet with the person and do the work. The last step is I go in and verify that the work that I asked them to do and that the city asked the contractor to do is done and done correctly. So it's not like you're going to have to fight with the contractor or you're going to have to. I take care of that. It's my job to make sure in the end of this process that what we set out to do, we've done. And once I sign off, then the contractor gets paid fully. They get paid part to begin the work, but then they don't get their full payment until we verify that the work's been done correctly. Yeah.
So Tony, from the time that you go in, do the assessment, and you place the order with the city, how long does it take for the work to actually get done, for that contractor to get to that home?
So we're early in the process, Daryl. That's a great question. We're early in the process. What I can say is that the first one that we've done, it's taken from the time we're probably 3 weeks in, and the bid has been accepted. The contractor is going out to meet the client. So as far as guaranteeing as far as how long the work's going to get done, how long it'll take, our benchmarks are 3 to 4 weeks for the work to get done, and that's going to really depend on what we're doing. You know, if we're redoing a doorway, that's going to take longer than if we're just putting in swing-away door hinges. You know, and I try to, keep that in mind. I've talked to one of some of the rehab places, like Cardinal Hill, for instance. I talked to the director of therapy there, and she was excited until she said, well, so you can go out, before we discharge. And I had to say, we're not the quick answer. We're the thorough answer. We are an answer, and it's a thorough one, but we can't guarantee that your hip patient is going to have a bath bench in 24 hours. That's not what we do. But I can guarantee that when we're done, that whole home is going to be addressed, not just the bathtub or the toilet. So there's benefits to the way we do it, but it's not the quickest answer. All right, so here's some examples of equipment that I've talked about. So I guess that would be the far right is that tap and go hinge. And basically what that does is when I walk up to the door and I open it, I touch the hinge and it freezes the door. Touch it with my foot, it freezes the door. And then I walk on in, and then when I touch it with my hand, I'm not supposed to cross this line. Touch it with my hand, the door shuts automatically. It is amazing how people react to that. That is one of the things that has surprised us. People don't know that's available. And when they figure out what it does and they see what it does, it's just amazing. When I worked home health, it was standard for anyone who had a child that was in a wheelchair to have that door. Because if you've ever tried to push somebody through a door with a wheelchair, it's terrible. Especially if the door's trying to slam back on you and you're going into it. So that's been a big one. A lot of the bathrooms we work on, it is hard to figure out where to put a grab bar. Okay? And you all might go into homes and there's the wall's just not set up for it, or the shower surround is not set up for it. The middle item is called a super pole, and those will go anywhere. So if the bathtub and the toilet, and there's only like this much room, I can still get a grab bar in there and position it wherever the client needs it positioned, because you can scoot anywhere. And once that's extended, it is really solid. I was a little skeptic when they first came out, but I've done 3 of those, and they are solid. They are solid. Now, you have to have a good ceiling and a good floor, but you got those things. They work really well. The third thing is the motion activated light. As soon as you put your foot on the floor, that light lights up. And I had a lot of couples where they don't want to turn on a side light because they don't want to wake up their wife, or they don't want to wake up their husband. They're like, if he gets up, he'll be up all night, or if she gets up, she'll be up. And so we get this motion activated light that sits on the ground where the bed's going to block most of the light going to your partner, but it's going to cast most of the light out into the room. Big win. It's a win-win. They're safe. The person that's with them gets to sleep, so they get to the restroom and back without falling. Those are just a few examples of what we've done as far as equipment. Other things that we've done is we've done the ramps. Now, when I say we've done, we have one person that's all the way through the program. This is things that I have done in the past that have had an impact. This program is going to do all of that, but it's just early on yet. So other things that we've done, we used to build ramps so they went straight up to the door. That doesn't happen anymore. The ramp goes up, and you're supposed to have a 4 to 5 foot platform by that door. And that's another game changer for people because it's much safer. It makes the caregiver have much less stress because you're not trying to keep the person from going backwards and opening the door and managing the screen door. You have a platform for the person that you're helping to sit. Or if you're doing it yourself, not having to lock those wheels and worry about that wheelchair go backwards, it's huge. It's a huge change. So we really have learned a lot by listening to people who are using this equipment. It's changed. It's changed for the better. In the last 10 to 15 years, the improvements that are coming down the road are even like for dementia and people who have Alzheimer's and any kind of cognitive impairment. The things that are coming are just amazing. Just amazing. But in this program, we're going to be concentrating more on these low barrier, low cost, high impact pieces of equipment. All right. So if you have somebody in mind, if you go out to see somebody, come in contact with somebody that has these deficits or they just have concerns, then this is our information. This number, the 855-492, actually our number is 0262. You'll have it on the right card. That's the general number.
It's at the top. Yeah, you have it at the top.
Oh, okay, there we go. 8774. I had to memorize that for an interview. 877-439-0262. If they don't qualify for what you're doing, but you still have concerns, and you're like, yeah, just hate to leave you in this situation, then call that number if it's a mobility. Our ideal patient is the person we get before they have the accident. Because before they have the accident, you got the best equipment to work with. Afterwards, it's just a little less. Every time you have a hip put in or a knee put in, yeah, you do good, but if we can get you before that, that's really where we want to be. Also, helping them to recognize, again, people become accustomed. They adapt. People are tough. I mean, some people are not tough, but some people are really tough, and they're dealing with situations, and they just say, they're going to put their head down and walk on. They just walk on through it. But maybe they'll accept, if I modify this, you're still going to be using your own body, your own skills. It's not something that's going to make you dependent. It's just something that's going to help you use your strength in a better way. That's ideal because there's not a decline, there's not an injury, there's not that period of being away from home and recovery. That's ideal, and that's where that's where we want to impact. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you're going to be with people who've had devastating injuries, and they're at the end of the rehab process, and there's a new normal, and we have to adapt to that. So just don't hesitate to call. If we can be a service, that's what we want to do. And that really is an overview of the program. If you have, I know that I probably went quick. And when you talk about stuff you're excited about, you do tend to get quick. But what questions do you have for me? Go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead.
First, the 855 number. So if we were to call that would still get us to you all.
Yes, I think that we have had calls to the main. Sherry could probably answer that.
Yes, that's the main number.
Yes. So we've had calls to the main.
So either one, but that's the most familiar number we have. So
yeah,
if I don't have that one, I know this one.
Yeah.
So that would be just as easy. The other question I had is, I worked with a student that was getting her degree in occupational therapy, and I was really curious, she did her thesis on the spiritual impact of her patients
Mhm.
as an occupational therapist. And I'm curious to know if you could talk about how you, if it is a part of your assessment or part of your practice, how you attend to the spiritual well-being of your patients. I was just real, I never thought about that as being
Yeah.
part of, but she wrote a really a
It is.
wonderful piece, and I thought, wow.
It
I love
is
that.
part of your occupation. So occupational therapy is literally the worst title for a job you could ever have. Because when you call people up who've had a stroke, they're like, I'm not working, I'm retired. But occupation means, what is it that you do during the day to care for yourself, to care for others? What roles do you fulfill? Father, husband, son, friend, homemaker, home repairer, cook, bottle washer, all those things. Dave, you've probably done all those things in your time. And in occupational therapy, we try to address roles. And one role for caregiving and health is spiritual health. So your ability, when you say, what do you do? One of the main motivators when I served in rural communities was, how do you want to get back to church? In church, we all say a lot about church, but church is, for a lot of people, their psychosocial well-being. It is the group they belong to. It is the place where they do work that is for a bigger thing than themselves. And everybody wants to give something bigger than themselves, right? And that gives them an outlet to do it. So my answer to that would be, when I look at what I am preparing you to do, resuming your purpose in a spiritual community is part of it, and a big part of it for a lot of people. So that would be my answer to that. You're welcome.
This may not be applicable since people call you, but if some of our clinicians or team members see someone anyway, my question is, do you have trouble convincing people to take the modifications that you recommend? Because I know just in my own family, if you suggest like mom, dad, grandma, you probably could benefit from this service, or not this service, but like it'd be helpful if you used a cane. They can be very opposed.
Well, and it's a fallback. It is a, what do you mean I have to use a cane? I do just fine. I have no fall. So home modifications, 2 headwinds on this program. One, you got to have documents to get into it.
Mhm.
So I got to have 2 months of your bank statements.
Right.
That's a big headwind. So, and in the beginning, we just went out and said, here's what we need. And we had some people withdraw immediately.
Mhm.
I'm not giving you that. So the key to that is to get the person to identify their need. Okay? When you have them do a 5-time sit to stand and they fall back in the chair on the 4th stand, and you say, wow, does that happen to you often? Well, no, not real often. Well, let's do it again. Well, no, I don't want to do it again. Okay, well, there's things we can do for that, but do you see that as a problem? Well, yeah, sometimes my knees just kill me getting up out of the chair. At that point, we're working on the same team. I don't want your knees to hurt. You don't want your knees to hurt. If I raise this chair an inch, you're going to be shocked how well your knees feel when you're getting up out of this chair. And even if you don't do our program, every time you sit down, look for a chair where your hip is above your knee. Okay? When you sit down, don't have your hip below your knee. Look for the tallest chair and sit in that one. Run for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard you reference working in rural communities,
Mhm.
and this is such an amazing program. Do you see any potential for being able to reach out into those smaller Kentucky communities with something similar?
I hope so. There are grant recipients. I believe in this cohort, there were 15 grants awarded.
Across the country.
Across the country, there were 15. okay? And Lexington was one of them. Now, this is not the first cohort in this grant. There have been others. But some grants were specifically given to rural communities. And you know, in my heart, as I grew up in a rural community, I spent the time I was 24 until I was 60 working in a rural community. I would love to see that. There are just so few resources.
Can I pipe into, I'm Laura Kahn,
Yeah,
VP
yeah,
of
Laura,
Philanthropy.
yeah.
So for those, this came to us through the city of Lexington. They came to us and said, we want to apply for this HUD grant. And it had to be a government entity that applied. And they said, we want you to operate it because we have such a good relationship with, know what good work you're doing through other programs. What I think Polly and I will look into once we've had this end and have success and have proof is, could a private entity apply or not? Or if it has to be a government entity, could we partner with Perry County or Harrison
Yeah.
County or
Another area
another
that we
group
serve, yeah.
to go after a separate grant? But that's how this came to us. So this is kind of piloting and seeing how it works, which is fabulous.
Amazing.
And then seeing if there's other government entities in our service areas in the future that we could do
Partner
something
with us.
similar.
Love it.
And you know, so this beginning part of this program, I've done a lot of marketing. I'll meet with lots of people. You'd be shocked how this company's name opens doors. I mean, just our reputation. I went to the Meals on Wheels organization that operates out of Trinity Baptist Church on Strader Drive here in Lexington, and you know, got a meeting with the head person. And immediately when I walked in the door, she said, "You know what? I trust you guys. I've interacted with you all a couple of times on this, and you guys, you know, I always try to recommend Bluegrass Care Navigators for programs." And they didn't know about our guide program. She didn't know. And so I got to kind of introduce her to that, and while I was introducing her to this, but it is helpful. It does help kind of open doors. Yes.
Tony, could you share like how, as part of your assessment process in that final interview, you also not only are getting them safe in their homes, but you maybe connected them to some of BCN's other services like PACE? Or,
Yes. Yeah. So the people I will work with. There are a lot of neurodegenerative disorders. There are, you know, loss of mobility. There's loss of cognition, and what I do as we're talking, I try to again get them to identify their need. That perception of a need, if you make that the groundwork so that you're both working on the same team against a common foe, is a key thing. So when the wife says, "Yeah, you know, we're getting to that stage where I'm worried about wandering, I'm worried about," you know, and I can say, well, you know, we have a program where I can have a very skilled person who's very compassionate come out, and I can have. I probably do say I can have, but that's probably not the right way to say it. I work with a group of people who are really good, but I can have someone come out and they can help guide you into programs that will help you get those answers. And that's just so great to have when you know, in past careers have not had all those resources. I love PACE. I worked there for 3 months. I believe so much in that process. And when I go out to see someone that's a single individual in a home, and I say, "Man, you know, don't you get lonely?" "Oh yeah, you know, I don't get to see very many people." And they're talking to me, you know, it's like water in a desert. And they're like, "Man, you know, there's a place you can go where they'll have your doctor, your dentist, your social worker, everything's there, but they also have a bunch of people who come in every day. They'll bring you in, you can play bingo, you can have lunch, you can talk to people, you know, and that socialization, that's as important to you and your health as what I'm doing right now. It just is. As you get older and that field narrows of people that you interact with, that's important. And I think PACE is a great model to do that. So yes, I do not miss a chance to, and to your question about spiritual, you know, that community in PACE, that is a spiritual thing. very much, and it is as health promoting as anything else they do with PACE, I believe. Now, it can look ugly sometimes. It can go the wrong direction.
We're all people.
But we're all people, and that's part of it. Being in the ugly every once in a while is good for you. It makes you appreciate the good. Any other questions in the chat or?
We don't have any in the chat. If anyone wants to unmute and ask questions.
I thought of something when you were presenting too that I don't think we shared. You mentioned there's a cap on the cost of home modifications.
Yeah.
You want to share what that is per household?
So the cap that we're working under right now is $5,000. So I typically do not mention that because that's not, so the city, like us, I mean, there are a lot of good people working at the city, and there are a lot of really good programs. Just as an example, if the city comes out and identifies a code violation in your home and you're below 80% of average median income, they have a program that'll help you fix it. Right? They're not going to write you the bill and say, you don't get this fixed, you're out of here. They can say, this is the problem, and here's a group of people that can help you fix it. And that's been really good. I mean, that, for me, for my heart, I'm like, you think of the COVID, it's like a dog, and I really, really enjoyed meeting those people and working with them. But they also have, one of the things I have to combat is I will get someone and then I will go in to meet with them and I'll say, okay, I need new curtains here and this trim over here, this wall board, that's broken. And, I could really use some replacement rim right here. And that's not, I have to dance around the, yes, ma'am, I see that. Yes, ma'am, but this program doesn't really pay for those things. We have to do things that are going to actually help you get through this house. And then literally she'll say, well, that loose baseboard right there, I could catch my foot on that. Yes, ma'am, I'll bring a hammer next time and we'll hammer that in. We'll take care of that ourselves. So, but that's kind of why I want people's sole focus to be on, when I say, Laura, what is it that you do during the day? And when you go to dinner, you go, man, I wish I didn't have to do that. Or, I hate doing that. I need to look at what that is. And we need to concentrate on that. And when we get there, then we're operating within the scope of this program, not the home remodeling show.
Right.
So. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Jamie has her hand up.
Oh, Jamie has her hand up. Okay. I can't see it. So
Jamie, you can go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to add to Laura's point. We've already referred one individual who was not eligible for the home modification program to PACE, and I understand they are meeting with him tomorrow afternoon. So that's our goal, as Tony mentioned, is to not only get these patients the modifications that they need to help them remain safely at home, but if they are potentially eligible for PACE or eligible for our dementia care, our guide program, palliative care, other programs, that we get them connected to those services. And we'll be bringing on a part-time PRN social worker to help with those connections as well in the near future. Although Tony does a fantastic job of that already, but we know that as referrals increase, his time needs to be focused on getting those home modifications recommendations and things in place. The other thing I wanted to add is just from a clinician's perspective, as we think about the individuals that we may speak to or interact with through our work. So PACE participants are not eligible for this grant program because of grant requirements. And we know that oftentimes our hospice patients are with us for a shorter amount of time. And from the time of getting an assessment and getting through the workload, getting the work completed could be, several weeks, could be 2 to 3 months from the very start to completion. There is that application process and documents to gather. But we interact with a lot of individuals who would otherwise be eligible. So if an individual is in our palliative care programs, is in our guide programs or transitional care programs, those individuals are also eligible to receive home modification services concurrently with those other programs if they meet the eligibility criteria. The other thing is individuals that we get referrals on that may not yet be eligible for hospice. but they may have some home modification needs, or they may not meet the eligibility criteria for PACE, but we know that they've got some mobility issues. They live in Fayette County. And just to say, hey, you know, we do have a home modification program. I'd be happy to connect you with the person in that program to see if you may be eligible for those services. They can, you know, and just make that connection. And then Tony's happy to pick it up from there and follow up to you know, talk with the patient more to see if they may be eligible and share about it. Just wanted to share that.
So Jamie, that, I kind of had a light bulb moment too, because a lot of the folks that we're working with are older couples, right?
Mhm.
In our hospice program,
Right.
you might be the wife whose husband is our patient,
Mhm.
but once he dies, you're going to be living independently in that
Right.
home. So
Right.
it's those spouses may benefit
Right.
from the intervention in order to keep them safe.
Yes, yes.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. Yeah, who are we serving now who has a family member who might benefit
I don't think
from
we-
those extra services?
until now.
Yeah.
What a great point. Thank you. Teamwork. All right, so 3 qualifiers, 62 and older, 80%, or let's do it this way, 62 and older, lives in Fayette County or Lexington, and 80% of the median income, and don't sweat the median income part. We can work on that. So, you know, I would rather somebody call and we have a conversation, and then wind up not meeting the income specification, but walk away from the program saying, you know, okay, maybe I need to look at getting some new lights, or maybe I need to look at changing this ramp around, or gee, I could get that door cylinder at Lowe's. That's a win. So, well, thank you all again. Thank you for your time, your attention. The questions were great. That comment was awesome. So thank you very much.